After months of abuse, we're ready to review the 2021 Canyon Sender CFR. I'm gonna say it right now, this is my favorite downhill bike and probably one of the fastest and best downhill bikes I've ever ridden. Now, just to clear the air and get this out, Canyon did sponsor last year's North American Bike Park Review Tour. Which if you haven't checked out, I think you should because it's pretty rad. We had a lot of fun making it. But since that tour ended, we have given the 2 Canyon Senders that we had out to other test riders not involved with the tour, let them do some winter shuttle laps and just have their unbiased opinions on it, and all the votes came back the same. The Canyon CFR rips. So, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get to some of the details about this bike, and then I'll kind of get into why I love this bike so much. So the Canyon CFR is available at a few price points. The top of the line model, which you see here, retails for $5,799. You can get into some of the aluminum options. The Sender 6 starts down at $33.99. So you can really buy some awesome DH bikes that are very capable for a pretty amazing price point. The bike that you see here is a size large, so it has 200 millimeters of travel, front and rear, and it is a 29er. Now, Canyon did some major redesigning with the new Sender CFR, and there are mullet options available for small and medium frames. However, the large frame and extra large come with a 29er only. Now, that might be confusing to some as there is an updated MX link, and in that link you will see 27.5 and 29-inch holes. That does not mean you can convert the bike to mullet. Obviously you can if you just switch the holes and put a different wheel size in there. However, Canyon does not suggest, recommend, or support that type of activity if you've got a large or an extra large. It will not improve your ride performance, in our opinion, and that of Canyon's as well. So if you have a medium or a small, it comes with the same link. You can just put it in that 27.5, or it will ship in that 27.5-inch hole. If you get a large or an extra large, it will come in the 29er spec. So that being said, just wanted to kind of get that out for folks that might think you can do both. It is not recommended. So we tested the size large, which has a 485 reach. The geometry on the new bikes is very adjustable thanks to some aluminum drop-in cups, so you can actually go plus or minus 8 millimeters. 485 is kind of just on that upper edge of reach that I personally like out of a bike. I'm not on that super long wagon yet, so at 5'11", I thought 485 was kind of just on that outer edge. Bringing it back 8 mil was awesome. I really enjoyed running it in that short mode. Likewise, you have some adjustability at the chainstays, so you can really have a great variation from the long reach and the long chainstay to the short reach and the short chainstay, and it will greatly affect how this bike performs depending on your type of terrain and where you're riding. So some of the changes that Canyon made to the bottom of the frame are the shock mount, the MX link, and also the reduction pedal kickback, anti-squat, and progressivity in the suspension tune. So I know that's like kind of a lot of stuff lumped in there, but essentially Canyon wanted to achieve a couple of major goals with this bike, and by doing a couple of moves, they were able to achieve many of those goals efficiently. So they were able to drop weight on the bike by moving the shock mount to a lower area. The down tube of a bike obviously is one of the highest stress point areas. It's where they need to do a lot of additional material. Now they're able to run a little thinner, lighter top tube as no mount to the shock is up there. In doing that, they also were able to modify the kinematics. They claim that pedal kickback has been reduced by 60%. My feet aren't that calibrated, But I will say there was a great reduction in pedal kickback from the previous Canyon Sender that we had tested a couple years back. So whether it's 60% or 58%, my feet couldn't tell, but it was definitely less. And that's a big thing that we criticize a lot in bikes is pedal kickback. We like to spend a lot of time on sharp, square edge, choppy rocks. So having a bike that doesn't bounce your feet up and decelerate you as you're charging through is a big benefit to us. Also, they've changed the end stroke of the travel a little bit. It's a great balance of letting you achieve full travel when you need it, but not constantly blowing through and bottoming out on times when you don't want it to. So we think Canyon overall did a really good job on the suspension tune with this bike and made it a very capable blend for aggressive, fast, high-speed downhill riders. Another major goal with the Canyon Sender CFR was to have a bike that was reliable and serviceable. So we took this bike, actually 2 Canyon Senders, out for 6 stops, again at our bike park review tour, and each of those bikes had hundreds of thousands of feet of descending on them, mostly in very dry, dusty, blown out summer conditions. And we didn't touch the bikes once. Like, we just were like, let's see how reliable and easy this thing is to ride. And we didn't have a single issue the whole summer. We've gone into winter now and again, haven't had to touch the bikes. But if you are someone who's maybe regularly riding, racing in the muck, Pacific Northwest, if you're in the UK, areas like that, you can definitely rest easy knowing that this bike was designed with the help of World Cup mechanics on that Canyon factory race team to be easily serviceable. So there are replaceable threaded inserts. So when you want to pull the bike apart, if you put it back together or get some gunk or grime in there and mess up the threads, it's all replaceable inserts. You don't have to worry about throwing out the seat stay or the rear swing arm and getting a new one with everything pressed in it. So definitely kudos there. One area that could be up for debate are internal cable routing. How mechanic friendly is that? That's kind of, I guess, up to you guys. But one nice thing about the internal cable routing is the fact that it is fully guided. However, it is exposed between the main front triangle and going into the chainstays, which also leaves a little bit of an open hole. Also, the MX Link area, there's a really cool rear fender, but down low, it does have a tendency in the couple muddy spots we rode back on the East Coast to kind of collect a lot of debris and gunk down in there. So that is an area that may not be the most mechanical, life extending, user-friendly area. So it will take a little extra care in that muck and gunk to pull apart and clean regularly. So along with those features come double sealed bearings, which are great, again, in extending the life of those bearings. You've got easily accessible pivots for when you do want to fully disassemble the bike. And again, just kind of make for a ride that is going to be staying at the top tier of that performance level for a long time. So when we first unboxed this bike, we did a first look, last summer when we were at a bike park, and I was really just taken back by the experience of unboxing this bike. Obviously, if you guys follow the channel much, we're huge e-bike fans, but like the cream of the crop, in our opinion, like the top best bike you can ride is a downhill bike when you get the chance to ride it where it's intended. And this bike was the pinnacle of that experience. I mean, it's just like, I'm still excited when I think about how that bike looked when it was brand new coming out of the box. Some of the fine touches, the features, it's got a full SRAM XO1 DH drivetrain. So the little touches, the matching red crank arms with the grip tape applied on the side of it, the SRAM shifter with the grip tape, it was kind of like a full black box, pro athlete treatment, and it was something that was really neat and fun to get to experience, right? It was almost like this bike was made for me to go do my best on. Since having the bike, the grip tape has worn away on the crank arms in the high rub areas. It has obviously sped up the wear on my shoes. obviously that's the downsides. The upsides are it led me to be able to hug the bike a lot better. I was tight on the machine. It felt great. The grip tape on the shifter came off relatively quickly, which was a bummer because I liked the feel of it, but it was gone. So it would be nice if SRAM could kind of get, you know, those things to be a little bit longer lasting, a little bit better. Speaking of long lasting, the Code RSC brakes, they're SRAM brakes, so they didn't last very long. They've got a great lever feel and the modulation. We all know the SRAM thing, but man, we had 4 sets of SRAM brakes out on that bike park tour and none of them lasted. It's just a bummer because the bike is so capable and it wants to go so fast. So having a brake that's not reliable, that goes in and out, the pads don't last, it's just, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer in our opinion. So yeah, I'll leave that at that. Doesn't take away from the bike's performance overall, and at $57.99 you still got some money to do a brake upgrade, so that's a plus. All right, so who the ideal consumer of this bike would be? Speaking to someone, I guess 5'11", who's on a size large or up, being that this is a full 29er, if you love speed, if you are a downhill racer, if you want to go fast, or if you just want a more confidence-inspiring downhill bike, something that will let you tackle terrain that you really want to ride, but you just don't feel comfortable getting yourself to, this thing's gonna be the weapon of choice. If you are that little free ride flicky guy, if you live in an area where your downhill trails are very tight, you've got like, you know, flat corners where you got to come in and there's like trees or big rocks on the inside, and you got to like kind of slap that back tire around and make those quick direction changes. The bike felt a little long. The 29-inch wheel obviously is big. Also, if you love jumping, and okay, I'm not a great jumper, I'm not a big whip guy, whatever, so it was harder for me to do that on jumps unless they were like big, long hang time jumps. It popped great. It jumped nicely. Like, I mean, I had no problem getting this thing airborne for nice natural gaps or step downs. If you saw like a rock at the front of a rock garden and airing out over the stuff, it did great there. But getting the bike to move and snap on ground or in the air, just with the length and the big rear wheel specifically, I think would be the only real weaknesses, I would say. But again, this is designed to be a World Cup ready downhill race bike where speed trumps everything else. I hope we don't get fact checked because I said Trump in this video. But so that being said, if you're in between heights, you could possibly get a medium and extend that reach. I definitely thought about ordering a medium when we got our test bikes because I could go +8 on that 460 reach on the medium, and that would get me close to my 475, which is kind of my dream zone. But after I got on this large and rode it in the short spot, I love this bike. Like, it is so fast, so capable. The suspension is on point. It has ridden well for a very long time with minimal service, and our whole crew has absolutely loved it. So, and honestly, I mean, at $57.99, I know that's still a lot of money, but you know, some of the last downhill bikes that we've ridden, like the Trek 9.9 RSL, you know, I mean, they're $10,000, right, or more. They're the Santa Cruz V10 CCs. Like, you're talking about bikes that cost twice as much, and like, at my level of riding, I don't know that I would be able to justify spending that much more money. This bike's as bit capable, or maybe even more. I absolutely love this bike, and I think it is so fast and so fun to ride. So that's it. I'm sorry, they did not pay us to make this video. It might sound like it. We're not getting any commission for selling these bikes. It just is an amazing downhill bike. We love downhill bikes here at the Lone Wolf. They are our favorite things to ride, and when we get a good one that gets us jacked up, it's hard to stay calm about it. So thank you guys for watching the video. Be sure to ask any questions you have about this bike down below. If we don't have the answer, we'll reach out to the folks at Canyon. But yeah, I'd say if you're in the market for a DH bike and you want to go fast, check the Canyon Sender CFR out. It'll do you well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out on the trails.